Today, sweetheart, it's Sibong, your Korean Zaddy. From now on, can I call you my baddie? Should you buy a divorced Korean man at a discount? Because Korea marks them down. And more of them are walking out of our market and into yours. Disappointing man at discounted price, crossing the ocean. Did I show you what a divorce really costs a man in my country and where the tired ones go? And at the end, I'll tell you the one thing divorced Korean men say is hardest about their new life. It is not what you think. You have me. Your Zaddy is here. First, let me show you how a man goes on sale. The discount. His name is Mr. Lee. Watch him closely because this whole story happens to him. At 33, Lee got married, and in Korea, a wedding is basically a down payment. The average couple spends around 300 million won to marry, more than 200,000 US dollars, and most of it becomes one thing: the newlywed apartment. By tradition, the heavier half of the bill lands on the groom. Lee paid it, 8 years of savings, a bank loan stretching into his 50s, and a quiet debt to his parents that nobody ever wrote down. And where does a 33-year-old find a bride worth that bill? In Korea, there is a store for it. Professional matchmaking companies. Real offices, real consultants, real contracts. They file people by job, income, education, height, and family, then match them by rank. Some literally sort members into grades, the way your supermarket sorts beef. A grade, B grade, down the alphabet. Membership costs thousands of dollars, and the contract spells out exactly how many introductions your money buys. Love, itemized with a receipt. The intake interview alone took 2 hours and felt like a visa application. Copies of his diploma, his employment certificate, his family papers, all verified before his first introduction. Then a consultant slid a coffee across the table and opened a folder, a thick folder. Women his own age, from families like his, with apartments in their future. That folder was his prize, and his prize was good. He picked one. They married in a rented wedding hall on a Saturday, one ceremony of 6 that day, 40 minutes per couple. Buffet downstairs. 7 years went by. An apartment, a routine, 2 paychecks feeding one mortgage. Then, quietly, it was over. Nobody cheated. Nobody threw plates. 2 people just ran out of reasons to stay in the apartment they were still paying for. And that is not rare. Last year, 91,000 Korean marriages ended. That is 250 divorces a day. 1 every 6 minutes. So at 40, Lee was not a scandal. He was a statistic with a mortgage. For 2 years, he lived like a man, on pause. Work, gym, 1 lamp on in a 2-lamp apartment. His married friends slowly stopped calling first. Not from cruelty. Couples invite couples, and he was an odd number now. Then he felt ready to try again, and he did the natural thing. He walked back into the same store. Same office, same coffee. She asked his age, 42. She asked his job. Better than before. For 1 warm second, Lee felt like a strong candidate again. Then came the question, is this your first marriage? No. And the room changed temperature. The consultant's pen stopped. A keyboard clicked, and a new label attached itself to his name. Dolsing. A returned single. The same store that once sold him a marriage now followed him under returns. She opened a new folder for him. Thin. Different faces, different pages. Mostly other returned singles. She never said the word discount. She did not have to. The thin folder was the discount. It thanked her. Took the elevator down and sat in his car for a long time. And in that parking lot, something inside him quietly changed shape. The disappointment. Here is what nobody tells you about a discount. The man can read his own price tag. He had followed every rule Korea gave him. Study hard, get the job, save the money, buy the apartment, marry properly. He never missed a payment on any of it, in money or in effort. He paid full price for the whole program. And the program never mentioned a refund policy, because the program assumes you will never need one. And after one quiet divorce that nobody could even explain, the program handed him a thin folder and a new label. That is when the disappointment set in, not heartbreak, something colder. Ask divorced Korean men what they are tired of, and many will say the same things. Tired of being a walking spec sheet. Tired of first dates that open with what company, what neighborhood, what car. Tired of family dinners where the soup goes cold, while the real question circles the table. Who owns the apartment? Tired of feeling their grade recalculated every time they enter a room. Some of them will say they are tired of Korean women, but look closer because that address is wrong. The women sit in the same store, in their own folders, graded by the same pens, and the same store grades a divorced woman even harder than it graded Lee. Nobody in that building is having fun. The men are tired, the women are tired, and the grading machine hums along, collecting membership fees from both sides. So the disappointed man does not really run from Korean women, he runs from the store. And here is the part that will genuinely surprise you. Korea knows these men are leaving, so Korea built them a second store. This is real. The big matchmaking agencies run entire divisions just for the divorced. There are dating apps where only divorced people can sign up, where a clean record cannot even get through the door. There are television shows where divorced singles date on camera, and the whole country watches with popcorn. And on those shows, viewers notice something. The moment a contestant reveals whether they have children, the whole room quietly rearranges itself. The cameras caught what every consultant already knew. In Korea, divorce is such a big market that it has its own industry, its own apps, its own prime time, a whole discount mall built with love next to the department store. But a second store is still a store. The folders are thinner, but they are still folders. The label follows him into the discount aisle, stapled to his file. So the truly tired ones do not switch stores, they leave retail altogether. And in the last few years, more and more of them live in the same direction, out. Lee joined them from his parking lot the same afternoon. He downloaded a global dating app, sitting right there in the parking lot of the matchmaking company. And the moment he crossed that border, the folders disappeared. No grades, no labels, no box for divorce. Just a name, an age, 3 photos, and whatever story a man feels like telling. Open one of those apps, and the Korean men all start to sound alike, polished like river stones, looking for a fresh start. Family-minded, but free. It just never happened for me. He spent 3 nights on his story. Photos where he looked tall. Hiking, cooking, all true. Then, at midnight, he typed one more line, deleted it, and typed it again before he could stop himself. Never been the marrying type. Hold on to that sentence. It comes back at the end. Stay with me. Because before you decide anything about a man like Lee, you need to see the life he's running from. Not the thin folder, what comes after it. Your hammy, your zaddy, is here. Now, put his divorce next to an American divorce, side by side, and watch what happens. An American man signs his divorce papers, and his friends take him out for a drink. America has greeting cards for divorce now. Divorce parties with cake and balloons. A Korean man signs the exact same paper and spends weeks rehearsing how to tell his mother. Some tell their parents months later. Some neighborhoods simply never find out. Same paper, 2 different planets. In America, 4 out of 10 weddings include somebody who has been married before. Remarriage over there is nearly half the store. America has elected divorced presidents and nobody blinked at the podium. A divorced dad over there is a Tuesday. He coaches the Little League team. His dating profile says divorced. 1 checkbox among 30, and women scroll right past it to the photo of his dog. Now come back to Korea. Here, a divorce does not close a chapter. It opens a file. When a famous Korean actor divorces, the word attaches to his name in every headline for the rest of his career. Dolsing actor, dolsing singer. Printed right before the name, forever, like a title of nobility in reverse. An American man can pack a truck, drive 2 states over, and become a stranger with a clean story. South Korea is the size of Indiana. There is no second state. There is no town where nobody knows. In America, the fresh start is practically the national religion. In Korea, the file is. And the Korean side of that ledger gets very concrete, very fast. Start with the apartment. 2 people spend 7 years paying for it. And in the divorce, it gets split. And suddenly, neither one can afford to keep it. So a 40-year-old man moves back into the kind of one-room apartment he lived in at 25. Same size room, 15 years apart. Everything he built in between fits in the smallest moving truck the company offers. The wedding gifts stay with the apartment. The apartment stays with the loan. The loan, of course, stays with him. For the fathers among these men, it gets heavier. A family court schedule now decides when they see their own children. The common arrangement in Korea is twice a month, 26 days of quiet, then a weekend, then 26 days of quiet. His American counterpart, meanwhile, has the kids every other week and a plastic trophy from the Little League banquet on his dashboard. And when the Korean man finally tries to date again, he meets the unwritten rule: dolsing date dolsing. Divorced people here look for each other, partly for understanding. But listen to how they explain it themselves, because this is the saddest sentence in this whole video. They say, "I do not want to be with someone who accepted me anyway." Read that again. In Korea, a divorced man assumes that a never married woman choosing him is doing him a favor. That is what the file does to a person from the inside. An American man loses a marriage and keeps his story. A Korean man loses a marriage and becomes one. And the weight of all this is not a feeling. It sits in the government's own numbers. Korea is one of the few countries on earth that officially counts its lonely deaths. People who die alone at home and are found later. Last year, almost 4,000. More than 8 out of 10 were men, most in their 50s and 60s. And inside that report sits the worst sentence in this video. The body was found by the landlord more often than by the family. One more number and the numbers are done. When Korea analyzed suicides by marital status, divorced men were dying at 4 times the rate of married men. 4 times. Nothing needs to be added to numbers like those. Now you understand why a tired man types a pretty story at midnight and points his phone across the ocean. The only question left is how many of them are typing. They exit in numbers. Korea counts everything, so of course Korea counted this too. In a country that tracks its exports to the last container, even heartbreak gets a quarterly report. One Korean groom in 14 now marries a foreign woman. Picture a Korean wedding hall on a Saturday, 14 grooms in 14 halls, bowing to 14 sets of parents. One of them found his bride across a border, and the line at that exit keeps growing. While Korean weddings overall spent most of the last decade shrinking, this lane kept moving. In one recent year, international marriages jumped to almost 20%. The average Korean man is 50 when his marriage ends, old enough to know exactly what the domestic folder will say about him. Now look closer at those grooms, because the government does. Every year, Statistics Korea publishes a table sorting the men who marry foreign women into first marriages and remarriages. And divorced men fill far more of that table than they fill weddings at home. Inside Korea, a remarriage is the exception at the wedding hall. At the international exit, it is a crowd. The men the market discounted are the men most likely to leave. The spreadsheet says so year after year. And the spreadsheet cannot see what kind of men they are. Some of those grooms sat their brides down on the first video call and unpacked everything, the marriage, the ending, the one-room apartment. Some never will. The table counts them all in the same column. It is the one folder these men could never escape. It does not grade them. It just counts. Somewhere inside those numbers sits Mr. Lee. 42, phone in hand, profile finished, thumb hovering over the upload button. And somewhere across the ocean, a woman is about to read 5 words over her morning coffee. Never been the marrying type. The numbers know something she does not. So, bad. I promised you the hardest thing, so here it is. A matchmaking company once surveyed its divorced members. What is the toughest part of daily life after the divorce? For the man, the number one answer was not money. It was not labor. It was breakfast. Breakfast. A table for one, every single morning in that one-room apartment. Now you know why I never end the video without asking. And now, tell me something real in the comments. In your country, what does divorce cost a man? What do people say behind his back? I read every single one. Well, they have the home advantage, but you have me. Your zaddy is here. 밥 먹었어? Have you eaten? Don't skip your meal and stay real. I'll see you in the next episode.